Okay, so it's time for the February book haul. And if you watch the channel, you probably realized I did a book haul not too long ago. I got an opportunity to kind of go through a book collector's book sale. I did a whole video on that. I'll post a link down in the description. Now, in that video, I mentioned, and this is information I got from the museum who put on the sale, they thought there was probably around 10,000 books that David Spencer had. Well, after selling probably about half of his collection so far, they went around and did another estimate, and they still think they have about 10,000 books. So it's more like 20,000 books that he had. I have been back once more. I have a few more books that I got that I didn't see the first time, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, also, I teased a little while ago, in a community post, I got 10 books for $1, and I was in our neighboring town of Butte. It had been a while since I'd been there. They have two really good bookstores, and I didn't really find much at those bookstores. And we had a little bit of time to spare. We ended up going to a thrift store that I usually find nothing in at all. And when we walked in, we saw they were doing a book sale where it was like 5 books for $1. And so we thought, oh, maybe there'll be something here. They had a lot more books out. They must have been hanging on to these for a while or something. We found 10 books, me and my wife, some really good books. And so I was thinking it was going to be $2 when I went up to the register. But it turns out it was also half price day. So we got 10 books for $1, 10 cents each. And let's just go through those really quick. I got these in Brodart dust jackets, dust jacket protectors. These first few are all book club editions. So we have a Heritage of Stars by Clifford D. Simek, a Fellowship of the Talisman book club edition, Shakespeare's Planet, Macedonia, and the last from Clifford Simek here is A Choice of Gods. So my wife found these all on a table and grabbed them up. And then we looked around some more. I found this Jack Vance. It's called Mask Theory, I think is what it's called. This has some really cool artwork. Definitely Richard Powers. We also found Mission of Gravity by Hal Clement. And then I usually don't go out of my way to find these big hardbacks, like these, giant full-size hardbacks, but Alastair Reynolds, Century Rain. I just don't see many Alastair Reynolds books around here for some reason. I haven't read anything from him, and I do want to read some more, kind of more modern science fiction in the future, so I'll probably give that one a go here pretty soon. And then just to round it out, I was looking and I found this book, Feral by Bertone, and I'm not even going to try the last name. This kind of looked like a Paperback from Hell type book. We got an animal. It was from the 70s or 80s, I believe. Let me look. It was published in 1975. So I grabbed this, and it's from Pocket Books. And sure enough, it's a fairly collectible book. I might even try reading this at some point. But that was my 10 books for $1 there. Really great deal. Probably won't see a deal like that for a while. But now let's get on to the rest of the paperbacks that I've gathered up this month. All right, so I traveled up to Alaska about a week ago for work, and I was in Anchorage, Alaska. This is kind of my old hometown. I lived in Alaska for 25 years and lived in Anchorage for about 10. And there's one really good used bookstore there called Tidal Wave. I got quite a few books from them. They're a little bit more expensive up in Alaska. Most of these books were more around the $3 to $3.50 range, but they had some really good condition books. So we got Alpha One. This is a anthology edited by Robert Silverberg. I had like number 5, and I think it was number 6. And so I found Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. in really good condition. And then quite a few from Frederik Pohl here. So we got By Pohl. And this is, I think, a collection of some, it's two shorter novels in one collection, kind of an omnibus. The Drunkard's Walk and Age of Pussyfoot. And then we got Our Best, which is kind of cool. This is from Baen. And this is Frederik Pohl and C.M. Kornbluth, a collection of short stories that they wrote together. So that was kind of neat. They did a lot of writing together before Kornbluth passed away. Alternating Currents. This is a collection of short stories that's from Ballantine, originally published for 35 cents. It's a Ballantine original, and that was in pretty good shape. He also co-wrote a series with Jack Williamson, so The Reefs of Space. I had the second book, and this is the first printing from Ballantine. Happy to have that. And then, yeah, that's all from Frederik Pohl that I got in Alaska. Now, these all came from Alaska too. We got Robert Sheckley's Citizens in Space. This is a Ballantine first printing of this one. 35 cents issued at. I just had to get this one. This is John Boyd, The Organ Bank Farm. I looked this up after I bought it. It doesn't have the best reviews or whatnot, but just had to go with that just because of some of the crazy artwork, and just the name of it sounds pretty intriguing. Philip Jose Farmer, Lord Tiger. Just recently read or reread To Your Scattered Bodies Go. I can see the appeal of Philip Jose Farmer. He is kind of weird, but went ahead and picked that up. I got a horror book called Tempting Fate by Kelsey Quinn Yarborough. And this was just in really good shape for a big old book like this. This is from Signet. And it turns out this is part of a massive series she's been writing in. But apparently you can jump in and out whenever you want in that series. This one was kind of, I thought of my wife when I got this. Plus it's a timescape. And this is from Sumtao, I won't try to pronounce his last name, The Throne of Madness. And we almost have like a half cat, half owl creature or something. So that looks pretty fun. Mostly, I think, on the fantasy side. I was really excited to find this, A Mirror for Observers by Edgar Pangborn. This is from Dell, and it's the first printing from Dell of this one. A lot of people recommended to start with, I haven't read anything from Edgar Pangborn. I was going to read Davy, but a lot of people say go ahead and start with that one. And then The Many Worlds of Barry Malzberg. He had recently passed away, and it seems like his books have gone up in value. So I found this one. This is from Popular Library, kind of a collection of short stories. Another timescape, The Blind Man and the Elephant by Russell M. Griffin. And it says, with a nod to Vonnegut, a curtsy to Heller, enter a world where ugliness is beautiful. I was really intrigued. I'd never seen this timescape before. And with kind of a byline like that, I was very intrigued. I looked this up. It doesn't have many reviews, and they aren't that great. But we'll just have to see. And then I got the Best of Mac Reynolds. This is one of the last pocketbook best ofs that I was missing. And I'd been looking online, and you end up having to pay about $15 to find it online somewhere. So I was really happy to find that for like $3. And that rounds out everything I got in Alaska. So now these are some local finds. I mentioned I went back to David's bookstore. I found some other things that I'm not going to show off. They're just more like nonfiction that I have interest in, and some classics. But I did find a copy of The Sundial by Shirley Jackson from Ace. And so grab that. And then he had these 2 volumes. This is from, who is this even published from? This is Arthur Machen, Tales of Horror and the Supernatural, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Pinnacle Books. So I know Arthur Machen was kind of an older horror author. That was Volume 1. Here's Volume 2. And so I think that's the complete set. I think there was only 2 volumes. Got to make up a little scene there. So that was pretty cool. Happy to find that. And then we got some more timescapes here. So we got The Prince of the Air by John M. Ford. I'm slowly trying to collect all the timescapes. There's a lot of them. The Voyage of the Space Beagle by A.E. Van Vogt. If you don't count the Star Trek ones, there's like 140 that I know of. Someone mentioned there's 141. The Fire in His Hands by Glenn Cook. And so I'm not sure if there's actually 140 or 141 of the non-Star Trek ones. The Mote in God's Eye. Now this had many different editions and printings. This one has a little bit of wear to it. But every time I find a timescape of this one, it's in worse condition than this. Then Joe Haldeman, Worlds. This one's in really good shape, except it's got a very faded spine. And then Michael Bishop, Eyes of Fire. I had the original pocket books of this, but this is the later printing from Timescape. Okay, now these are just some other random books. So we got Paul Anderson, Satan's World from Berkeley. Robert Silverberg, Up the Line. This one is from Ballantine Del Rey. And then we got Kim Stanley Robinson, The Wild Shore. And I believe this is the first book in a trilogy. And this is the Ace Science Fiction Specials Series 3, I believe, edited by Terry Carr. And I think this might have been Kim Stanley Robinson's first book. And then The Book of Skulls by Robert Silverberg. I have the first printing of this one that came from Signet. And this is the Berkeley edition. Has kind of a different cover there. Universe Day by K.M. MacDonald. Now this is actually a pseudonym for Barry Malzberg. And like I said, a lot of Malzberg books have seemed to gone up in value, but that one I got pretty cheap. And then I was at my local bookstore. I got Midnight at the Well of Souls. This is a Del Rey edition. Haven't read anything from Jack Chalker. I know this is a big series he wrote, so not sure if that's the best place to start, but I want to check that out at some point. Then we have some Daw here. We got Cheon of Weddleland by Charlotte Stone. And this is, it says it's book 1, a little bit of a faded spine, but it looks like this is the only book that Stone had come out in a Daw yellow spine. And then The Other Log of Phineas Fogg by Philip Jose Farmer. This one's in nice shape. Then we got Herbert Franke, the Mind Net. This is funny. Anytime I search for this guy, I end up getting results for Frank Herbert, even though this is Herbert Franke. He's one that I really want to read soon. I have another book of his that I'd really like to read very soon. And then I was missing this Daw edition from Clifford Simic. This is Our Children's Children. It's got a nice crisp cover, but a bit of a faded spine. And then Hard to Be a God by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. I did find this very cheap, but it's not in the best shape. but it'll do for now. Okay, we're getting to the home stretch here. Another by Malzberg, we got Scope, and this is from Pyramid, science fiction. Brain Twister by Mark Phillips, and this is from Pyramid with the pyramid stripe. Now this one I got it because I hadn't heard of Mark Phillips, and then I did some researching, and it says right in here, Mark Phillips is basically a pseudonym for Randall Garrett and Lawrence M. Janifer. So those two were highly known back in the days, writing for magazines. Kind of very interested in that book now. And then we got Robert A. Heinlein, Glory Road. This is one that Sean and company are going to be reading soon for their year of Heinlein. And then Syzygy by Frederick Pohl. This is one of his later novels. This is from Bantam Books. In the Drift by Michael Swanwick. This is from Ace Science Fiction. And then we got a Spinrad here. We got The Mind Game. And this is one that was first published by Jove, which is a little different for science fiction. You don't see a lot of Jove science fiction out there, but got that. Okay, now The Best of Keith Laumer. This is another Pocket Books best of that I was missing. And now these last three are really great. So I was at my local bookstore where I get most of my books for $1, and I saw The Dying Earth by Jack Vance. I originally saw the Pocket Book spine, and I was hoping this was the Timescape version, but it turns out it's not. That's okay. It's still a very collectible book, kind of hard to find. I would like the Timescape edition, but this will do for now. And then we got The Daw, Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said by Philip K. Dick. And this one had like 3 different covers and numbers in Daw, which was kind of unique for reprinting the same novel. And this was the first one that came out, I believe, number 146. So the other 2 covers were like the later printings of that. And then the last book I splurged a little bit on this month, I got Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. This is the first printing from Bantam. It's one of these little small rack-size books. I have a dealer that I buy from, and they had this at a really good price. He said the condition was pretty good. It kind of exceeded what I thought the condition was going to be in for a book this old and this popular. And so really happy to have that. I really enjoyed this book when I read it a long time ago, and I kind of due for a reread on that one at some point in the future. So that's the February book haul in conjunction with the previous David's Bookstore haul that I did. I promise I won't do any more book hauls for the month of February, so you'll just have to wait till about mid-March for the next one. But if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.